Let me try that again. Wrap application development, lesson 8, part 3. We're talking about assignment number 3. Again, this is due November 14th, which is next week, for those of you who don't know, right? I know we're rapidly going through things. Right now, from an assignment perspective, we just finished, up to exam number 1. 50% of your mark should be available to you on Blackboard, right? So again, whatever your mark is, look at it, divide it by 50. That's your percentage for the midterm. And if you're not comfortable with that, I think you only have a few days to do this add drop thing. I don't know if it's passed yet. There you go, right? I don't think there's anyone here that should do that. But if just somehow you want to get 100 and you're not getting 100, well then, or maybe 101 is not good enough for you and you want to get 105, right? But then you can go ahead, right? But I think you have enough information now to make a decision is what I'm saying. So even though I've mentioned these things, Season of the Witch and Green Hornet and The Dilemma and all these other old movies, right? There's nothing wrong with you changing out this selection. But I don't want any less number of movies than these. Try and give yourself quite a few movies to test. This is part of your test. These assignments are doing two things. They're saying to me, they know how to use these structures that they've been shown, this student, right, as an example. And obviously, what does this look like to you? This is a multi-dimensional array here, right? You've got movie and category, right? That's what this thing is, right? Or if you want to think of it better, this is your movie. What's the title and what's the category of the movie? That's more like it. And the category also has a download cost, right? Like as if you're using Netflix or whatever. So if you haven't even started your assignment, assignment number 3, and some of you in this room maybe haven't started yet, that's okay, right? But the reason why I'm going over it right now is because I want to make sure you guys are clear of what I'm looking for. So really, look, there's not that many, for each category, there's not that many prices, right? I mean, I don't have, even though there's this many movies, or as an example, there's only this many categories, right? So you only have this, and some of the prices are the same. Right? So there's different approaches here that you could use. One is, by the way, the menu I've asked for is File and Help with an About screen and or About form, and then Print. Obviously, please use that simple VB print stuff if you can, if you need to. Stream would actually be okay. I'm streaming the movie, which means I'm going to start getting charged for it. Okay. So here's my billing is going to go through. I'm not asking for, so here's potential bonus marks. I'm not asking for, hey, enter your Visa card number, right? Or enter your account information. Log in, right? Some of you came up with a login screen when you entered the service. We're not really doing a login screen because there really isn't anything to authenticate you at this point. But, coming up with a user and password is a good exercise as we prepare for databases next week, okay? So I'm just giving you some ideas of how to get some extra marks here if you can't do some of the stuff that I'm asking for, right? So really, I'm going to have 3 forms. So your selection form, your order form, and the stream form, right? I've also asked for a couple of extra things, even though I didn't ask for it. There's a splash screen that I'm actually asking for here with a minimum of 3 seconds. Don't make it 10 seconds. That's really annoying. I will change it anyway, right? If you make it like 10 seconds, I'm like, what the hell? It's taking too long, right? I've seen some splash screens that are really cool. They use this like little, it's really cool. One guy did it. He was actually did it so the splash screen came up, and then it was like, there's a little control that kind of kept on counting down the time. I was like, woohoo! All right, this is cool. All right, tell me how much time I have left. Nothing's wrong with using a splash screen as well, in addition to what we have right now, when you transition between forms. Sometimes, you need a transition screen. Like example, you're moving from Form A to Form B, right? And you do some calculations. That's a good opportunity to use a splash screen. Loading, right? That's a splash screen. Loading files, loading this, loading that. Now, typically, our computers are fast enough that you're not going to even see it, right? Just like the splash screens. But you could actually use extra splash screens and extra things like that to buffer up your application to make it look cooler if you wanted to. So it tells you some controls and everything you need, pretty much straightforward. One of the things it says is a picture box and to the group box, which displays a small graphic of the movie, almost like a thumbnail, right, of the movie itself, right? Later on, we're going to use that same image, but in full view, right? So here's the little graphic. This is what I'm loading. Well, now here's what you purchased, right? So I'm going to get the full poster of the movie at the end. That's what I'm looking for, right? And then it says, store the user selection, including the movie title, the category, and the cost in an array, which means you cannot get out of using an array in this assignment. If you use another structure, the minimum structure I'm looking for is an array. If I don't see an array in your code, you're losing marks. Right? You can still get away without using an array, but I'm trying to test the ability for you to use arrays and manipulate arrays because you're going to need arrays for the next assignment, which is this database assignment. The order form is really like a pop-up, right? It's going to say, so let me just take a look at this. I've given you some examples of what they can look like, I'm sure. So here's your selection form. This is a very ugly way of doing it, right? I'm giving you, when I make these forms up, I don't say, this is what I want, and Tom says I have to do it this way. This is bare minimum of what I want. You design your form. Imagine you are the client and how you want your stuff to look. The more creative you get, and please, if you get creative, make sure that I can read your fonts, okay? Please don't make it black on black, all right? It's creative, but it doesn't work. You're gonna lose marks, and I feel bad when I do it. I sit there and go, oh damn, I see what he was trying to do here, but I got to take marks off because his GUI sucks, right? That's not good. I don't want that. I want you to kind of think about it. Can the user read what your selection is, even though you use this cool Star Wars font, right? Right? I want you to kind of, make sense of things, right? So here it is. And then you're going to go to the order form. So form number 2, you're going to go to the order form, and the order form is going to say, okay, here's the title that you ordered. Here's my category. Here's a bigger version of the image. And then here's my cost, my subtotal, my tax, my grand total. Do you want to order the DVD or not? If you click on that, it's going to add my DVD up here. Well, probably it's going to come up and say, here's my DVD. When I click stream, it's going to take me down here and it says, thank you for choosing, right? This is the bare minimum that I want. So stream is actually say, okay, your movie's now going to start streaming, right? But nothing to say that you can't add some special effects, some other things that you want to try and do to make it more realistic. Again, you're simulating a stream of a movie stream. You're not doing a movie stream. Please don't try and attempt that. That's out of scope, right? I've had in previous years someone trying to do such a thing. I was very frustrated trying to mark his assignment. Let's put it that way, because just none of it worked. I was like, duh! And it's the most frustrating thing is when I get a piece of an assignment and it's broken. Don't send me an assignment that's broken, please. If it's like not working at all, at least tell me it's not working. Like sometimes I get surprised. I'm like, what? It's not working at all. So then it says, do you want to load the previous, your previous build? Yes. I click yes, that button, because at least I can give you some marks for your broken assignment, right? Otherwise, you know what? You get 0, right? I don't do that. I'm not a kind of 0 kind of professor like that, right? So I sit there and go, and sometimes I have to search to give you marks, eh? Sometimes it happens, right? I look through your assignment and I go, well, they got the structure on the exam. There's a couple people I had to do that with. They got the structure. They're going in the right direction, but they're really out of whack, right? So I'm going to give them marks here, right? Because look, they've actually tried to type in something, and it makes sense what they've typed in. If you type in gobbledygook, you're going to get 0. Like, if you typed in if you typed in Python instead of C#, it's not going to happen, right? Or Java, which is another thing, right? So I know I'm kind of going over this, and I'm belaboring the point. You're like, hey, this is a really easy assignment because my exam was more difficult than this, right? Yes, it is. You're right. Exam should have prepared you to do this kind of thing nice and easy. You should be able to, the idea behind this isn't that I blast you with assignments, is that when you're done this course, you can do this with your one eye shut. That's the idea. If you can't do this stuff with one eye shut when you're done this course, and by the way, a lot of you are at the top, like I said, I failed as a professor. This is easy stuff. It's not challenging. It's when you start putting together more complex structures with the building blocks that I'm giving you. This would be like an intro to rapid application development course. When you start getting more advanced, then, we're going to start using WPF forms. Maybe you're going to build Windows 8 applications, God forbid, and other things like that. Maybe Windows Phone applications. I don't know why, But those kind of things, you're going to work on those things more. Or maybe you're going to use Visual Studio to build ASP applications with Rich, right? Because he does a lot of ASP applications. He's another professor that does that. He uses Visual Studio exclusively for doing his web stuff. A lot of it, right? And there's a big market for it, guys. If you want to do ASP stuff in the market, there's a big market for stuff that's not open source, not just the open source stuff. Okay, so I've kind of said my rant. Any questions around assignment number 3? Okay, I'm going to give you a preview of assignment number 4. I want you to keep this in mind, where we're heading, right? Because I think that's part of what we want to try and do is keep, what's on the horizon for us. I don't think I made it available. I may not. I don't know if it's available yet. Databases, and yes, here it is. I've called it dollar computers, right? So dollar computers for assignment number 4, same kind of idea. It's due the end of November. So really this month, like you only have a couple weeks, and another one coming, another couple weeks, and then a couple weeks more, and then you're studying for the exam, right? Because the exam is going to be heavy duty. I know, it's crazy. It's like spinning out of control. So really, a multi-form project. And what it's going to look like, so scroll down here, as a preview, is this. You get a splash screen, welcome to Dollar Computers. We sell for less, right? And there's going to be an order form, which says start new order, open a saved order, exit, that kind of thing. And when you start a new order, it's going to have this select form, which is going to kind of pull. Now this is where it gets complex. Okay, this is the most complex one you'll do for this semester. You have a database that you're pulling information from, right? Depending on the line that you select, whichever line you select, information about it comes up down here. The line, anywhere on the line. Here, 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 here. Remember where you try and select that line? That whole line gets selected. That's one challenge. So start thinking about it now. How do I select that whole line, right? And this is a different structure. This data grid that you're using is a different structure that you haven't seen yet. Guess one. And then the same thing is when you save product info form, you're going to have an area here where you can actually save and load because we're going to talk about saving and loading and some file handling, because if we don't do that with a language, we're in trouble, right? We need to be able to do file handling, right? So we're going to talk about file handling at length. I don't think it's next week, but I think it's the week after, right? Next week, I think we're right getting into databases, if I'm not wrong, right? So then we're going to talk about file handling a little bit, and you're going to save particulars of this thing into a file, text file, and read from it. So there's the challenge. There's going to be several challenges here. This is the most complex one yet, right? Okay, now, basics we're talking about, I'm giving you, right? And at the end, some kind of order form, which is a summary of all your entire order that you can either print through your file menu, finish, you can order this, so you're placing your order for the computers. The prices that I'm going to give you, I don't know if I'm providing the database at all or not in this one. I think I might. I might have the file for it. It's pretty relative. Like the prices are, I don't know, about a year old. So they're not totally out of whack. If you want it to be a little bit more advanced, right? And if you wanted to build your computer nowadays the way they build computers today, like price and build, this is old school, right? Price and build would be the new way to do it. And some of you did that actually when we did our auto center thing, right? We actually had a picture of the auto, and then you change the thing, and it changed the color, and all these kind of things. The more creative you get with this kind of stuff, the better GUI you can provide for your customer, the more marks I'm going to give you. I know there's people that I gave 2 whole extra marks for, and they did 17 out of 15 on their auto center. I'll tell you around, they did 100%, plus they did extra work. Out of this world, right? And I'm happy with it. I love it, right? So I give marks. There's no limit. If you get 100% in the course, I'm good. I'm not going to try and sit there and go, well, we've got to bell curve it because we're like in university. We can't have 100%. That's terrible, right? It means the course is too easy. No, I want you guys to learn as much as possible and be creative, because I think creativity is where it's at, right? And also sometimes you can talk to the client if you're creative and say, hey, I like what you're doing here, but how about if we do this, right? Make some suggestions before you build, by the way, not after. So after you build it, it's free for you, and the client gets stuff for free. So think about this. This is what's coming. So you're going to need to know database. You're going to need to know about file handling a little bit. And we're going to talk more about this in about another week or so when your current assignment is finished and handed in, right? So again, each area is, you can tell where the marks are coming from. There are going to be complexities. There's more complexities. There's going to be more questions and more issues with this assignment than any other one. Okay? And one more thing about the exam. Like I said, if you're going to study anything, multiple document interface I would look at. I don't know if that might be anything, by the way, anything we talk about in any of these lessons is food for the exam, even if I talk about it once, even if you don't have it in an assignment, all right? So read your stuff. Check it out. Try it out. We talked about arrays today. Did we go and do arrays today so much? No. But you're going to do it with your assignment number 3, right? We're going to use databases, and we're going to use these other structures like file handling in assignment number 4. Chances are you're going to have arrays and file handling on your exam. Okay? So if you don't know how to do these things in your assignments, you're going to be in trouble. And you should know how to do them like, it should be something that's in your mind. And my recommendation to you is, remember the exam, you're going to have, it's an open book thing again. So you're going to have access to your assignments. All your code is there. Why recreate the wheel? Just take it, right? Use it. It's there. You've made it. It's part of your toolbox, right? Don't isolate. Someone says, I didn't know where to look for my stuff. Well, if you've done it already, that's great. Now, there's going to be some stuff you haven't looked at, and that's what I'm saying. I'll tell you what stuff is going to be on there. I'll say, hey, we haven't really done this in an assignment. Like example, drag and drop. That's not an assignment, but you need to know it, which means you need to know it. Like I'm not going to, like last exam, I kind of went around and said, okay, this is how you do it, blah, 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 right? And that's fine. Even with all that, people still struggled when it comes to certain things. If on an exam, if you get an exam or an assignment, right, there are GUI marks. There's also internal documentation marks. A lot of you lost silly marks on the exam because none of you did internal documentation at all. Some of it because of time. That's the truth, right? But just putting your bloody name on the top of a form, right, would have saved you like a mark, too, sometimes, right? Silly stuff, right? So take a look at where the marks are. And remember, we struggled in the exam, last exam, as a lessons learned, right? We struggled with getting this data pass from Form 1 all the way to Form 3 or Form 4, or whatever it was, right? But it was only worth 3 marks. So you spent for 3 marks, you lost 5 marks because there was other stuff you could have put on. The GUI, you could have set up your GUI on your own, right, and get all these 5 marks. People didn't even complete the GUI at all, right? For these 3 marks, they were struggling to pass the data, and they couldn't finish their GUI. That's bad, right? Remember I told you to build it. Build your GUI first, even when you do your assignment, and then start building your code because, and you may have to make adjustments to the GUI, but if you do your GUI afterwards, your UI, then you're going to have to recode stuff again. It's going to cause rework for you. Anyways, that's it for me. I'm going to end off here. I recommend, before you go, because we still got some time, try and build this hands-on assignment. Even though I showed it to you, try and do it on your own from scratch now. You have 40 minutes, right, or 30 minutes. If you can do it, that's great practice for you as we move forward, okay? Otherwise, we'll see you next week.